Hello, I'm Clare Wightman and I work at Grapevine. I'm the director of the charity. Grapevine is a small local charity based in Coventry and Warwickshire, and our passion really is to help those who are isolated, people with learning disabilities and their families, to connect to other people in communities so they can have richer and stronger lives.
What's the point of community connecting?
The point of community connecting, I suppose, it's got more than one point. One of its purposes, one of its benefits would be that it protects vulnerable people from indifference. I think that if there is no one in your life who cares about you, or no one to whom you matter, then you're much more at risk of indifference and ill treatment than otherwise. I think clearly, being connected to others, having friendships, loving relationships is just part of a good life, that we should all have these things because they help to make us happy and healthy and resilient and safer. So I think that's why it really matters, but it's something that I think services don't do or stimulate because it's not easy, and it's much easier to do things like train people or to do things that are about running projects where people are members of a project for a short period of time, and talk about that being empowering, and there is a place for those things. But I think fundamentally, if we don't do anything about the separation of people with learning disabilities from others, then they're going to always kind of spend their lives on the thin ice of depending on services. And what we really want to do is get people onto the sort of firmer ground that is about having a life full of friendships and relationships.
Why can't you do that on an issue basis?
I think the danger of working with people issue by issue is that it leads to a way of working that's about these fairly rushed kind of transactions between the person and a worker, and they tend to be transactions that are target driven, that are usually very short term, and that perhaps focus on a symptom rather than the real problem or issue. And what we want to do is spend time with people and build a productive relationship with that person where we can really see how to shift what's happening in their lives. And that can't be done quickly in sort of short-term transactions between professionals and people who need services. We have to look at the whole of their lives. We have to make sure that we're working in a way that leaves them with stronger lives than before. And if all we do is typically fix problems that are occurring within services, so we might go and help fix the fact that a service doesn't seem to be being very flexible in its support to someone. But if that's all we do and we don't, and then we move out again, we move out of the picture after we've done that, then we'll always be needed to go back in and fix it the next time it happens. And what we need to do is something more fundamental than that, really looking at how could this person have a stronger network that would provide support that isn't paid support. And that's not about, incidentally, that's not about, trying to make sure that people who formerly got paid supports are able to just have life in which there is no paid support. It isn't about taking away paid services, but it is about looking beyond what a service can do for someone, looking beyond what you can buy with money to looking at what only people can do for other people. And the things that people only can do for other people are all about emotion, care, commitment, loyalty, and lifelong involvement. Services can't do those things, but people can.
So in the current economic climate, for the next few years of cuts and so on, are you saying there are benefits to working in a more holistic, community connecting kind of way?
Yes, there are benefits to working in this kind of more holistic, community connecting type of way, but they're not necessarily to save money for local government or central government. It isn't necessarily about saying someone doesn't have support needs anymore that they're not entitled to have help with. That will still be the case, but it is about saying, if that's all you ever do, nothing will really change that much in a person's life. It'll always depend on how good that support is, how good that service is. They'll be vulnerable to loss of services, they'll be vulnerable to changes of staff, people not being as good as the previous people who helped them. So, for example, I mean, I would say that the sort of jaws of institutional life are always open for people who lack friends and allies. So no matter how good the paid support gets, we will still leave people vulnerable to loss and indifference if we don't look at who is in their life that cares for them and who could be in their life that could care for them.